lovely Friday evening. Say hello to the dog. He's a good boy. And we're going to talk about the Arsenal game coming up and a bit about the Sociedad game the other day. Last night, in fact. I've not got me tripod or mics with me, doing an off-the-cuff video again. But what I was going to say about the Sociedad game is we should have been winning that game comfortably. Sociedad was so poor, but it shows where we're at, doesn't it? Like how bad we really are, that we can't take advantage of a team like that. Like Bruno played all right, but he always does against really poor sides. Xerxes again, he looked all right, but again it's a really poor side. Garnacho's finishing and final ball again is absolutely diabolical, and then he's hooked off and he's chucking his boots about, and whether it's because of him being mad at himself or mad at being subbed off, he deserved to be subbed off because he's just awful, wasn't he? Then there's an absolute meltdown going around about Dalot not putting the ball in the box for Højlund. It happens, man. Yes, he should have crossed the ball. Yes, Dalot's having a stinker of a season. Yes, Højlund's having a stinker of the season. Who's to say Højlund would have got on it? But I'm not saying he shouldn't have put the ball across. He should have. But it's a one-off thing, innit? We should be getting in them positions against sides like Real Sociedad 10 times in a game, and the one time he don't do it shouldn't matter. And everyone in the fan base is having a meltdown about one cross that's not put in. It's not good enough, and that's the end of the day. And the fact, and I was on FU TV on their Big Up channel the other day, stating about, like, we're talking about players like Xerxes and that having a bit of a spell looking okay, as like, oh, he's really coming good and all that lot. He's not. He's bang average, man. And this is where we're at as a fan base, that we're lauding people like Xerxes and that as being good players. Xerxes, if he was playing for Everton or West Ham, you probably wouldn't even talk about him. Or like 1 week he has a good week and scores a couple of goals. But it's all we've got to cling on at the minute. Is Xerxes basically doing the very basics okay, is now the best thing at Man United. And as for the penalty, yes, you can say it's harsh, whatever else. The facts are, his arms are above his head. The Sociedad player is going to head the ball before Bruno, and Bruno's arm stops him from getting a clear header. Like, the other box, you're begging for a penalty. And that's the way I look at penalty decisions these days. I try and take bias out of it, and I think, if that was in the other box, would I want a pen? And the answer is 100% I would want a penalty for that. So I understand why it's given. To me, it's just stupid by Bruno. 2 minutes before that corner, he's having a meltdown in the centre circle with the ref. Lost his head. Gets booked for it. Goes back to defend the corner and then handballs it. Say what you want about Bruno. I'm not going on a Bruno rant, but he was all right against Sociedad again. A shite team. And then he goes and does something that's absolutely ridiculous to make himself and his performance look absolutely stupid. And you can blame the ref, you can do what you want. I'm blaming stupidity from Bruno, from losing his head a minute before to going to do that. There's just no need for it. It's ridiculous. I don't care what anybody says. He shouldn't be having his hands above his head there. Stupid. Bias gone, you want a penalty in the other box, and we got one against us. You can barely even argue it. Sociedad game, we were crap and we got away with a 1-1 in a game we probably should have been winning 2 or 3-0. But again, our forwards are that useless, they can't pick a pass or do anything but hit a side net. And that's the end of that game. I mean, moving on to Arsenal, I actually think we'll play all right against Arsenal because they're a big side, the team will be up for it, and they will suit us because we are a team that can defend our own box, and when they've got all the possession, push us back, we'll be fine defensively. We might get a goal on the break if we get Højlund or Garnacho or someone running in behind and we get a goal, or we defend well and get someone off a set piece or whatever. I don't actually think the Arsenal game is going to cause us much trouble. And no doubt, if we get a 1-1 or if we scrape a win or if we have a half-decent performance, everyone will be saying, why can't we do this against all the other teams? I'll tell you why. Because we are a team that are set up to sit back and counter. So when we play expansive football under Ten Hag or Amorim, or we've got the ball and are expected to do things with it, we're crap. We barely beat Ipswich, Sociedad, Southampton, Leicester when we're supposed to take the games to people. We lose to mid-table teams like Brighton, Palace, Everton, you know, teams like that, because we can't take the game to people. But when we sit back against a City and Arsenal or Liverpool, someone like that, we look like a team that's half competent because we're not having to be expansive, and we've got a couple of players who in a moment can get us a goal. And that's how I expect the Arsenal game to go. They'll have all the game. They'll either convincingly beat us 2 or 3-0, or we will defend well, which we're capable of doing, and we'll score a goal on the counter-attack, and everybody's saying, why can't we do it every week? And exactly I've just explained it, because we're not a counter-attacking team under Amorim who sit on our own 18 box and look, even though we do lump the ball all the time. And once we'd given the penalty away against the Sociedad game, the Reds went, and we went back to lump it football again. And that is where we are at with Man United at the minute. We are absolutely shockingly bad. I don't think I've touched on this before, but I don't like what Amorim said before the Sociedad game about the bigger picture, the future, the long term. All of that is correct, but you're a Man United manager, and I understand we're not the Man United we used to be, but we're still a Man United who were one of the top 5 teams in the world in 15th place, and you've won 5 Premier League games out of 16. Don't be telling the fan base that the Europa League don't matter. Maybe it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but financially it matters. If we win the Europa League, we're in the Champions League. That is a lot of money into the club to help you get to where you want to be. What you saying, Amorim, that you're quite happy for us to not be in the Europa League and we'll have no money in the summer because we're not in Europe at all? The facts are, I actually think that if the end of next season, when Amorim's contract is up, we're not in Europe, his contract won't be renewed, whatever you want to happen. I think minimum target will be the Europa League, and I do think we will spend money this summer. I think we'll spend 100, 200 million, we'll get a few players out, we'll get 4 or 5 in, and if we are not in the Europa League come next summer, Amorim's going to have a very, very, very tough time of keeping his job. And that's not me saying sack him. It's not half the fan base saying sack him. It's not me saying change your system. It's nothing. It's the reality. You're a Man United manager who's won 5 games out of 16 in the Premier League. We're 15th. And if we're in the same predicament next year, he will not get the time to change it. Maybe if we get Conference League, he'll stay. Probably minimum is like 7th or 8th Conference League for him to get another year or 2. But if we're out of Europe again in 10th, 12th place, out of all the cups by this time again next season, he will not see the back end of next season. He'll be gone. And you'll say who we're going to get in. I don't know. It's not my job to decide. It's not your job to decide. The facts of the matter is we're losing too many games, whether you like it or not. We've got to start winning a few games. And I mean, I've not really got much else to say, to be perfectly honest. We're missing Ahmad like mad because he was the only one who's scoring goals. Bruno's got to play, even though I can't really stand the guy in the midfield. I don't see who else we play. You've got the Mainu talk now that Chelsea are after him. He wants loads of money. Mainu, to me, has done nothing to deserve the amount of money he's asking for. You've got Garnacho going down the tunnel one week, throwing his boots the next week, can't kick a ball straight. We've got the fan base hyping Xerxes, who's about the most average player that's ever played for the club. You've got a striker who hasn't scored for 18 games. You've got a keeper who can't catch a ball. You've got a right wing back who, I don't know what's happened to him. Like, it's just beyond belief, the drop off of the low. We've got an ancient midfield in Casemiro and Eriksen. We're going nowhere, I'm afraid. And people will say play the kids in the Premier League. And some part of me says yes, but the other part of me says don't. Look where Garnacho and Mainu have ended up now. They've ended up with half the fan base thinking they're not good enough, turning on talent. No progression of the talent because they're thrown into the team too early. I am actually on board with Amorim using Chido, Collier, whoever else he wants to bring through from the youth department sparingly. They don't need to be thrown into this team now. They just don't. We're at the bottom of the barrel. Even if they go and have 5 good games in a row and score a few goals, it's no good for them in the future of the development. And that is where I am with the team. I mean, it's just such a tragic situation on and off the pitch at United at the minute that there's no real hope, is there? I'm trying to be positive that we might play okay against Arsenal and we'll get a result against Sociedad. But next week, the second leg of the Europa League, and I'll probably do another video before then to talk about it, I think we'll just be as crap as we were in the first leg. But I think we'll end up winning the game because Sociedad are so dead up front. We've probably got a player who will pick a moment out of nowhere and get us through. Then who have we got after that? Have we got Rangers because they're beating Fenerbahce? I don't know who we've got. AZ Alkmaar are beating Spurs. If AZ knocks Spurs out, there's a huge chance of winning that tournament. As bad as we are, the teams in it are not great. And we've got 1 or 2 players who can pull a moment out of the bag to win it, and it will save us. It is all we have got now as fans is doing something in that Europa League. Because we are absolutely begging for something positive, and it's the only positives we can hope for, because there's no positives to come out of the league. Out of every other cup, all we can hope for is that we do something in that, and that is really all I've got to say today. Quick live on the Arsenal game. I'm predicting 1-1, and I'm predicting a 1-0 or 2-1-0 against Sociedad in a week's time. I predicted a 1-1 away at Sociedad, so let's see where we go from there, and I will talk to you on the next video, and peace out.